I do life coaching and I do it within the church. I'm actually the church's life coach.
Cool.
Yeah. And I've been doing life coaching for the public since 2011, 2012 for a long period of time. My purpose is to help you walk in purpose and for you to understand your purpose. What I realized, and that's the reason why I'm doing this show, is because one of the things that can hinder us from walking in purpose is not stewarding our finances well. And I've been guilty of it. Can I say this? I've worked 9 to 5 jobs majority of my life, right? So from probably the time I was 15 up until I left the university in 2017. Then I worked for a nonprofit organization in 2018. I worked 9 to 5. Like I had many jobs in that. Going into full-time entrepreneurship, it's a totally different mindset. Let me tell you something, Linda. Let me tell you something, Chris. It's a totally different mindset financially. And the reason why I say that is because, when you work a 9 to 5, you have the employer is the one that sets your money off to the side for taxes. You can go to say, yeah, I want that HSA account. Matter of fact, if you could put my money here, but you're the one, unless you put people in place, of course, but as the CEO, it's still your responsibility. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Crystal. One fallacy that I've had and I'm starting to understand more of is that you have to look at your money daily. Like for real, for real. We just found out how much money we made in our personal income last year. It blew our mind because we was like, what? We made that much? Oh my God.
Yep.
Then the first question my husband asked, okay, where did it go? And I said, oh, we paid off some debt. We did certain things. But when I looked at that dollar amount of how much we made, I'm like, okay, we still don't really know the details. That's why I've been so hard in digging in my finances because it's like, is this normal? Are we supposed to look at our money every day? I'm coming against these old mindsets. I've been working on the finances for like over a week now, every day. And I keep on hearing, you're doing too much. It doesn't take all of this. You know what I mean? Matter of fact, you probably working on a business right now. You all up in the finances. You out of order. You out of balance. So
Right.
tell me, Crystal, when you talking about managing, being a great steward of your finances, what does that really look like? Is it one of those things where you looking at your finances every single day? Are you spending hours on it? What does that look like?
So I think that's going to depend per person, per situation, per household. I believe in the earlier phases, to your point, like you're getting set up or you're reviewing everything. So there's going to be more of a time commitment that you do have to put in to get everything figured out. And then once there is a concrete budget in place, there's a concrete plan in place, then from there, I recommend just a weekly or monthly type of snapshot, right? Just to make sure the system you put in place is actually working, and then to fix anything that is off and out of whack. But I will say, yes, in the earlier phases, it may take that. I know at the end of last year when I was working through, because to your point, I've been in full-time entrepreneurship since all April last year, and it is a different beast because whereas your household income is going to come in very consistently, very paced, very,
Yeah.
the business income comes in very sporadically, but sometimes when it comes in windfalls. It's like, oh wow, okay. And so really being able to look at it in the sense of like, okay, this money is coming in, but it's coming in like this. Now, what's the best plan of action to make sure I'm prepared from a household standpoint as well as a business standpoint? That takes time. And honestly, if you don't have any skill around it, it may take more time. And if you do have skill around it, but you are struggling with the business side versus the personal side, that may take some time. And if you really are down and out and you just like, I don't know any of this, I just know I got a business and that's it, then you may have to bring in some support around that. But it is something that I'm telling you, it'll take some time. But what I would tell you is this gonna wind down. Now, once you figure it out, get to a good stopping point where you create a plan.
Mm-hmm.
And then that plan, which I know for us, we started it, map that plan out and then revisit that every other week, monthly, and make sure the plan is actually working. But at that point, you're not checking every day. And I don't check every day. I have set days where I'm checking the budget, set days where I'm checking the account, and I'm reconciling and categorizing everything.
Yeah. So that's good. That's good. And that's hope because it's basically what you're saying is like once I get all this set up, making sure analyzing what happened in the past, what's happening now, setting a plan, all that. So basically said, once I get that set up, I call my time with money a financial review. So outside of what's happening right now, my financial reviews are Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And that way, and then you will see, like, you might be like, there's nothing I really need to do right now to review today. So then now it's kind of weaned out to every Friday or just every other Friday, you know, because I have my schedule typically once a week. But there are some times where it's like, okay, the plan is working, everything looks good, transactions are categorized.
Yep.
All is well.
All is well. Well, you gave me hope, Crystal.
You got this.
My next question I wanted to really ask you is, one of the things as a business owner was a different way of looking at finance. We could talk all day about so many different topics, but I just wanted to address that poverty mindset and then also shifting into that entrepreneurial world financially as well. If they have if they have an unpredictable income, I think maybe you talked about this before, where income comes in different times, and you know, you don't know, you can forecast, but it still fluctuates. How can they really set up financial wealth?
It's definitely strategy. Let's just start there. It's gonna be, this is not something that you just haphazardly let happen, right? Because one of the favorite quotes I like to say is that money is a terrible driver, but it's a great passenger, right? So it is sitting in that car all day and you tell it where it's going, right? But if you don't drive it somewhere, then it's kind of like passive, lazy, just, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And so, with that being said, I think it is super important to strategize. Look at your historicals. As a business owner, you should have a previous year. If you're starting something new, give yourself some grace, but at least begin to prepare. How much do I want to set aside for this, set aside for that? So now that you've already set aside your expenses, then you want to project your revenue, but also you don't want to over project your revenue. You want to ensure that it's moderate so that if you don't reach that revenue, you are not overinflating it to the point that you can't meet your expenses. But it is super important to say, okay, I do know these are going to be the main expenses, and this is how much I'm allotting aside for these areas. That means at a bare minimum, I need to make this, but in order for me to get a profit, I need to make this plus that. Then that helps you at least have a good starting point. But with the business being fluctuating, you're just going to need a strategy. You're going to have to say, like, in order for the household, if I have to take care of some of the household from the business to be okay, I need to at least make $3,000 out of the business. The business overhead is $3,000. So that's $6,000 that I automatically got to make. Is the revenue consistent enough to generate at least $6,000 a month?
Yeah.
And if it's not, then you got to go back to the drawing board, figure out what you can cut down, or figure out how you can sell up to that level.
Yeah, that's good. It's so funny that you said that, because one thing that I looked at and I finally feel like I have some confidence in is that I looked at last year profit and loss statements, and then I was like, and I saw what our net income was from that, which turned into our personal income. I said, okay, this is where I'm going to budget from. This is our starting place of what, based off of this net income, I'm going to say this is the minimum, because we believe in an increase. So this is the minimum of what we bring into the table, you know, in the household. So this is good. Yeah, I'm really loving this. When I used to work on my finances, I mean, I would break out in sweats. I used to get like nervous, agitated. I mean, I couldn't focus. I mean, it was so much anxiety. And I was like, what in the world?
I've been there. There were times where I wouldn't even check my banking account. I would just project like what I think it would be. I remember in my earlier years as a single mom, I would be like, I would use my debit card. Like, let's just say I just got paid or whatever. So I know the direct deposit hit. And like towards maybe that Tuesday or something, I'm like, well, I should have at least about $47 and some change. So like I can swipe this card for $10. But listen, because I wouldn't check it. It was a high level of anxiety. It was a high level of embarrassment too. There was not a lot of visibility around my money. It was just almost like, let's see what happened. And until I got to a point where I was like, no, you're subject to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been there.
What, you know, one thing I always hear is like money has an assignment. And I always tell my husband, I said, it doesn't even matter if you put the assignment on it or not. It's always going to be assigned to something, right? One thing I really want to ask you is that, what made you decide to go into finance? Like, what made you decide to go into banking? Like, what what was the indicator like, for you to do that?
So what's interesting is when I was in school, I actually loved math. I love math. Like I just like the challenge of it. Like it just, even in the higher subjects like calculus and trigonometry, like I like when it tells me like you can't do this. Like, and then now you got the formula, you figure it out.
Yeah.
So I really did enjoy math. So then going into high school, you start to build your pathway. I wanted to go on the business and accounting pathway. When I went to UNC Pembroke, when I started school, I started on the accounting pathway. My first classes, everything was around accounting. Well, after I got pregnant with my daughter, stepped away from school. I was like, let me just take a break. Let me just focus on being a mommy, blah, blah, blah. But I also at the same time was like, I really don't enjoy accounting like that because that's not my personality.
Yeah.
I can't see myself sitting behind a desk in a computer all day crunching numbers.
Yeah.
And so when I decided to go back to school after being out of school for a minute, Bellwood State had just launched their banking and finance program. Now, Catch 22, when I was at UNC Pembroke, I started working at BB&T at the time. I had worked there for a little over 2 years. So I was in the banking space, had been exposed to it. And it was really just a job on campus. It was close to the campus. It was a call center. So it was like, that's how I got integrated into banking. But then I started loving it. When Bellwood State launched their banking and finance program, I was like, oh, this is me. And I stayed in the banking pathway. So I worked for several banks. And that just really continued to ignite that banking background. And from there just grew like the financial literacy piece of it.
Did you ever feel like you had imposter syndrome? Like, for example, because I was talking to one, look at you. So I was talking to one of my friends. First of all, this child, I'm not going to mention her name, but she has all the accolades. She has all those series license and all of that. When she helped people, she helped people. Like, and she's like, well, sometimes I feel like a hypocrite. And I said, what do you mean? She's like, because what I'm recommending for them, I don't have it completely set up for myself. So I battle with like, who am I to
Let me
say
tell you.
something?
Let me tell you. Let me tell you. So imposter syndrome is so real because one, my biggest level of imposter syndrome when I was at the bank was I was the youngest and I was one of two Black investment bankers in the state.
Wow.
That was crazy in itself. I'm up against all these pretty much white men around teaching, having investment products. So I am pretty much telling you how to invest your money and your assets, $500,000, $1 million assets, and I don't have that. So it's like, imagine the imposter syndrome there. I'm like, I'm still trying to fully get myself together at this point. So it's like, okay. Now, fast forward to a very recent that you would was the cohort that we were a part of. I was like, my business, like I've been in business development and I've been exposed to a lot in the corporate America space, and I know I have a lot of knowledge, but these are 6-figure plus businesses, and truth be told, Crystal Clear is not yet fully 6-figure plus.
Girl,
Like,
let me just.
not yet. We're definitely gonna hit it this year, but it's like we were not at the time yet. And so I remember telling my husband, I said, how am I gonna teach them how to, get their businesses leveled up and scaled up? And I'm not a 6-figure business owner. I literally had that conversation with him. So you talk about imposter syndrome. I deal with it on a regular in the sense of I'm like, Lord, who am I? But then it also caused me to like just continue to remain humble before him because I never try to act like I know more than the next person. I'm always a student. I'll sit in workshops that I facilitate and take notes.
I definitely understand. It's so funny because I think that's what makes the difference between being in your lane, meaning being anointed for what you do. Because so my background, which you already kind of know, but for the audience sake, my background is business. I've done the director of business centers and just done business, worked at school of business at university and all that kind of stuff. However, and I was one of the teachers, okay, when it came to certain workshops, and I attended several trainings. But let me just say, Crystal's workshop, or Crystal, when she did that cohort, she was probably the best, not probably, I'm sorry. She is one of the best instructors. And the reason why it was because when you talk about business, it can get very dry. However, it was so funny because one of my mentors was like, JurLonna, why are you taking that class? Like, you
Like, you don't need this.
why are you taking that class? But no, I was telling her, I was like, you just don't understand. I'm really there for the people because I need some fellowship. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know if you knew it or not, but I was literally sitting there watching you like, oh wow, this is so amazing. Yeah, I heard the information. Don't get me wrong, the information was good. But it was
Right.
just because remember what my purpose is, right? My purpose is for people to walk in their purpose and for them to know what it is. For me to be in the presence and witness someone doing that in the financial part of it, it was so amazing to me. So when people ask me, "Oh, how was the class?" I had a totally different perspective because I was sitting there like, "Oh my gosh, she's just so amazing," because you can tell that's what she's born to do.
Wow.
I just want to say that. And that's funny. I'm glad we bring this up regarding the imposter syndrome because it does happen. However, when you're anointed for something, if that's your lane, it doesn't even matter. We just have
Yeah.
to cast down all the vain imaginations. I just love it.
That's it. It's so crazy because I almost canceled that cohort. Yes, yes. Dr. Coben will tell you. I was just like, let's just not do it. In the early phases, they're trying to make sure people get. And I was just like, it's just too. I told my husband, I was like, it's just too much. And yes, I almost canceled that cohort. But talk about the timing of God, the purpose of God, and how He will equip you. He's qualified us to go and to do the things, and we just have to do it, even in spite of how we feel. If we feel that unction that God said, do it, that means do it afraid, do it trembling, do it however, but do it. And I'm always reminded of the story of the servants with the talent.
Yeah.
And when he came back and he was like, "What did you do?" With the first one was like, "I did 5 more plus, and I did." And the last one was, "I hid it because I know what type of master I have, and I was afraid that I would lose it."
Yeah.
And it's like, you lazy and wicked. God feels like that's wicked if we hide our gift.
Right.
And so, yeah,
We're
just
supposed to
do
be
it.
multiplying, girl, not hiding, right? That's my
Come
favorite
on.
parable, man. When it comes to the talents, and I know they were talking about talents relating to money, but also talents relating to our gifts. Whoo, child. Okay, we could be here all day. I want to say, what is something that you would like to leave with the people that they can take and say, you know what, I'm empowered to take a look at my finances. I'm not going to be intimidated.
Wow. So first part of that is to anyone that's listening and you are someone that may be very similar to my story where you have mentioned in your mind you've like shunned away dealing with your finances, even being visible with your finances, or you jump in the passenger seat of your money and you're just like, it is what it is, it'll do what it'll do, whatever. I challenge you to take a different perspective because I know your listeners predominantly are Christians, they're believers, and we know through the word it talks about us being good stewards over what God has given us. He gave us the 90. I mean, he gave us the 400.
Right.
And then he's like, I want the 10% back.
Yes.
But then what I am concerned about is what you do with that 90%.
Yes.
And so it is important that God cares about what you do with the 90%. So what I would challenge you, what I would implore you to do is take a minute. Have a money date. Do it outside the house. I always like to do it outside the house.
Yes.
I go to a coffee shop because coffee makes me happy. But whatever makes you happy, if it's juice, if it's a burger, go somewhere. Take your laptop, take your notebook, take your pencil, a pen, and a highlighter, and literally look at your money. Face the music. There's a quote that says, "Nothing can be changed until it's faced."
Mhm.
I know it may be embarrassing, it may cause guilt, it may cause some other weird emotions that may, and all those things come up. But until you can face it, is the only way you'll be able to see a change. So I just implore you to start that change by first looking at it. If you look at it and it all looks like mumble jumble, and you need a plan, reach out to resources because you don't have to do this on your own. We're a community, we're a village, and as kingdom people, we help one another.
Yes.
So reach out to resources for support and don't try to do this on your own. But I implore you to get to it face to face. It's almost the end of first quarter. So make sure you do it now and not wait to the end of the year and look back and be like, what was this year and how did I manage my money? Especially with the times and inflation and what we don't even know is to come. So just do that.
What's the best piece of financial advice that you ever received?
I would say the best piece of financial advice I've ever received is personal finance is personal. Focus on your journey. especially in the age of social media, we get stuck with looking at, oh, they're going on another trip, or oh, they bought their kid a car. We get stuck on that, and it causes us to take our eyes off the prize, off of our own individual journey. It causes us to shift away from our values and our goals. Then we don't have the momentum to keep going. And so if your goal is to pay off debt, if your value is to be debt free, or to travel, or to focus on that one, map that out, write that out, focus on that. And don't try to be like someone else. Don't try to emulate or follow the pack or what you see on social media or what you see even in your community around you. But personal finance is personal. Dig deep to figure out what your goals, your values, and the plan that you have around your finances is, and function in that. Stay in your own race, stay in your own lane, so that you can actually see the fruit of what you focused on.
Amen. I feel like you just preached the whole sermon.
Come on.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Crystal. Where can the people find you? Where can they find you for your resources, to get access to either the Moneybox or even some of your services? Where can they find you?
Absolutely. So it's a two-pronged approach. I would say personally following me on social media, you can follow me at I am Crystal McLean on Instagram, and then Facebook Crystal McLean, as well as LinkedIn Crystal McLean.
Okay.
And that's McLean. Then if you are wanting to follow Moneybox for just our programming, for our tips and strategies that we put out, it'll be at Moneybox Academy Nonprofit on Instagram, and Moneybox Academy Inc. on Facebook, and Moneybox Academy on LinkedIn. And lastly, if you're looking for any books, resources, we have some really powerful products, 10 strategies to eliminate debt quickly, the ultimate love letter, which is a legacy planning guide, and a credit workbook to help you rebuild your credit personally, individually. You can visit www.authorcrystalmclean.com for those resources as well.
Thank you so much, Crystal. I'm going to put it in the description as well. All those resources she just named, we will have it in the description so you can get access. We're going to be free, okay? 2025 is our year. I can't stand when people say 2025 is my season. This just cringed me. And the reason why it cringed me is like, okay, we got to do something with it. That faith with works. And so,
Come on.
and this is what this is all about. This is the part of the works that we have to do. I think we don't have to toil. Let me take that back. It's not about, I don't think. The word says we do not toil, okay? However, whatever he has given us, we do have to work it. I appreciate you again, Crystal, and thank you, audience, for listening in. If you're needing more information, it's going to be in our description, and we talk to you next time. Take care.